Hey everyone, we're back with more and more about maps. Today we're going to talk about plotting points, how to go about that, how to do that accurately, and some ways to get started. And then also we're going to look at some examples and then also talk about areas in maps. Right? We're going to look particularly at the United States today. So I have some examples here to just take a look at. So straight away we see this is one of the maps that you can get from Wikimedia Commons. It's in color. And this sort of looks like a high school social studies textbook map. And what we see here plotted, this is sort of for like a quiz, are the state capitals. And you can see this is a great way to sort of plot maps, right? You have to have some sort of reason why you want to plot the map. And here it's the case of getting the state capitals. And then they use a star icon, right? Something you can make very simply in Illustrator, or you can make your own, and you can plot it in the space. A couple issues come to mind when you're thinking about this. Obviously, the icon needs to stand out against the map background. And then also you can see that there are areas where it really starts to cluster up depending on the scale of your map. Sometimes it's impossible to see certain areas and also fit information. Obviously in the West, we got bigger states that are nice shapes where we can fit text. But in the East Coast, especially in the Northeast, we have some real tight areas where we have to use these sort of little branches as you see that break out. Okay, so let's look at some examples first, and then we'll sort of talk about how to go about this. So as you can see here, this is a map from mapsoftheworld.com. It's a great example that sort of shows, again, another colored map with all the different states broken up, and then you have the state name and then the state capital. And here you can use, they use a different icon, right? Stars are traditionally used for, as you can see in the legend, a country capital, okay? And then the state capital has the little dot with the outer ring. So that's a good way to differentiate in your legend, right, which is your sort of symbolic key that breaks down where everything is. Now, if you have a little kid like me, my child has a place map that has these, and while she's eating her Cheerios, she can sort of check these things out, right? We're indoctrinating her very early to understand the country that she lives in. So this is a great example of plotting, right? We have a color code for the different states, just to sort of differentiation. Obviously, there's no relationship between Oklahoma, Iowa, North Carolina, New York, Washington, and Alaska because they're this sort of corn color, but it's just to help with differentiation. We're here today to talk just about plotting. So this is another very interesting example. This is the USA sitcom map, which I love this because growing up in the 1980s, I was addicted to sitcom television, and it was interesting to think about where these things took place because you really got exposed to different cities and parts of the country through these shows, right? So I can remember, Magnum PI and reruns of Hawaii Five-O. I'm not that old. Sort of taking place in Hawaii and getting a feel of that place through these cop shows, right? And you can see, I grew up in New York City and Long Island, so we can see here specifically the suburbs, Who's the Boss, Growing Pains. I totally remember these shows being in those locations. So this is another way that you can plot things, right? It has nothing to do with capitals, but actually where the cities are that these sitcoms took place. I really enjoy this map because it's a unique way. It's your data set. It's your criteria of thinking about how you would plot something on the United States map. This is a great project to think about, right? So I would challenge you after seeing a map like this, what kind of map could you make that plots different pieces of information? In this case, it's pop culture. And we can thank danmeth.com for this one, right? There's also the New York City-based one because obviously it's such a small place, we can't see it here, but so many great shows have taken place in that region. Okay, so now we'll just finish the examples here. We're looking at now different regions of the United States. So there are many sort of ways to describe the United States. This is one example. This is from learner.org. And this sort of talks about different parts of the country. Now, you can sort of see that they're blocked up by states, but others have more ambiguous regions, right, where you sort of see things in a way that's just that's really low res, just by not state lines, but by regional lines, right? So there are different sort of boundaries than just state lines that we can take into account. But these would be sort of the state-specific boundary-based things of how you would describe different areas. In a future tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to make a map of belts, because there's many belts in the United States. There's the Sunshine Belt, the Bible Belt, the Rust Belt, and so on and so forth. So we're going to look at ways to do that, but I wanted to just sort of round out this example bank here by showing you, this is from the Nike Town store, and there's been various other spin-offs as well. This is the map of countries of baseball. Now, if you're a baseball fan, you can see, and you may take contention with this, many have, of the different regions where baseball teams live. And you can look around and sort of, again, it plays off this idea of state love, right? You're looking for your state first, and you're trying to sort of see, hey, is the team I like in the place that I live? And, many people feel differently about different things. And as baseball teams change, this may grow and expand and whatnot. Now, this is another great example of a graphic that can be evergreen for a very long time, because this data set will not necessarily change for a while, right? We gave the example in earlier videos of how a bill becomes a law. It takes a long time for things to get through Congress, so we're pretty sure that our data set's going to remain constant, okay, until an act of Congress changes how that stuff happens. Same thing here, right? These are baseball regions, and unless something really major happens that will change the course and the boundaries of these different countries as Nike's described them, we're not going to see much change. Maybe an expansion team will come into the fray, and that will change things up. Okay, but let's talk about how we can go about making a map with plots. Okay, so here is our SVG map, which you'll have to go to a previous video and see, where we learned to download from Wikimedia Commons. Okay, definitely go check that out and peruse their avenue of great maps that you can download that are SVG. We want to get the SVG, which is the scalable vector graphic. Okay, and we're going to play around today with plotting. All right, now there is a wonderful location that we can go to get icons, but if you're in the do it yourself, make it from scratch sort of school, which I like to be in a lot of times, inside of Illustrator, I'm going to show you real quick. We're going to go to the tool, the shape tool section, and I'm going to hold that down. And just a quick note on Adobe tools: whenever you see a little down arrow right-hand corner of the tool, that means that if you hold your mouse down, you're going to get more tools. So it's a great way of sort of hiding tools that you can get at later. And the one that you choose, which is in our case going to be the star tool, it will change to reflect that that is now what you're going to be using. Okay, so star tool, I'm going to hold the Shift and Option key because I want to center scale, and we're going to use that to plot. All right, and you can see really quickly I've just made a star, right? So that's it. You need an icon that we can reproduce again and again. We want to have our icons remain consistent color if we're representing something in our data set. Like if we're doing capitals, they should all be the same size and same color, so that people know, hey, these are capitals. And the other thing that I like to do is, I'm going to bring in my layers palette here for a second, is I like to make another layer and then put my icons, my plotted icons, and I'm going to double click this to call it plotted icons, on a layer above the map itself. Okay, why do I do this? Because I may need to do something where I grab them all and the color needs to change, or essentially I have control over that layer and all of those icons if I need to do something sort of across the spectrum. It just helps, okay, because when you have everything in one layer in Illustrator, things get cluttered and it's a bad way to learn. So it's just a sort of a workflow piece of advice there. Okay, so let's check out our icon here real quick. I'm going to just copy the icon set that we saw before, and let me get my color swatches here. I'm going to open it up. We're going to get CMYK. Okay, there we go. Let's bring this into the mix here. Okay, so we're going to fill this red, and then we're going to take off the stroke. Okay, now we're going to just do this temporarily because right now my map is a light gray, and you can easily see with contrast the color of the star against the background map. If I make things beautiful and I start playing with textures and other colors, I may want to rethink my color scheme for the map and actually re-add the stroke, because sometimes things can get crazy, okay, and you won't be able to see the icons, which is really why we're here. Okay, so all right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to sort of think about something quick that we can plot. Okay, I don't know. I can't think of anything right now that we can maybe plot in the United States. We've looked at the sitcom map. We looked at a map of capitals. Um, all right, I'm going to plot cities that I've visited. Okay, this is data that I know of, so I can actually just sort of connect to it, and that's easy, right? If you're thinking about a project to get started on, this is a great exercise in infographic design and map design because you can use data that you have, which is right in your brain, places you've been. It's real easy. Okay, so I scaled my star down a little bit just because of placement and those things. I don't want to clutter up areas because I've been to a lot of places in this region because that's where I'm from. So I know I'm going to have a lot of stars there. So I'm going to go for major cities, around across the country that I've been to. Okay, so first things first is Manhattan. Okay, we're going to plot that right on top of Manhattan. All right, now I'm from there, so I know where it is, but I'm not the greatest geographic person in the world. I need a little bit of help sometimes, and I'm all about accuracy. So let's look at some ways that we can be accurate. Okay, so I'm going to pull open real quick my browser, and we're going to go to our handy dandy Google Maps. Okay, now Google Maps is great for looking up where stuff is now. Okay, and it allows you to make your own maps while you're designing what it is that you're doing. Okay, so what you can do here is I can type in, let's just say where I live now, Charlotte, NC. Type it in. All right, and there it is up close, but let me zoom out. Okay, and I can see where in the country Charlotte is. Okay, so it's right there. All right, now what I like to do, and I'm just going to show you quickly, right? I could come in here and plot and make my own maps. I could log in here and just start dropping arrows everywhere and plot where all this stuff is. But for the sake of the example here, I think, well, let's see here. Maybe I can do this. Yeah, we're going to create a map. All right, so I went to My Places. We're going to create a map. And we're going to call this Places I've Been. All right, and we'll say unlisted just because I'm using it for my own self. Done. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to Edit, and I can use inside of Google Maps, and I am logged in through my Gmail account. I can use the dot icon to place where it is that I want to go. Okay, so I can start doing that by saying Charlotte, NC. Okay, so what I can do is click on Charlotte, NC. All right, and what I can do is here is say Save to Map. Okay, so it's now part of my map. I'm going to click Save. Yay. All right, so I can go through and plot a few things. So let's see what else I can do. I have been to Dallas, Texas. Great place. So we'll search for that. There it is. Pull it up, and we'll say Save to Map. Save. It's going to my Places I've Been map. Okay. And we'll just do 5 for the example because you can obviously add these later. And we'll say New York, New York. Okay, we also could put Manhattan in there. That would be fine. Okay, there it is. All right, we've already got our plot there, which we dropped before. All right, save to map. Wonderful. Okay, and then we'll say Chicago, Illinois, another great city. I like to refer to Chicago as clean New York, where people say hi. All right, and then let's see, one other place. Let's say Las Vegas, Nevada, which I've been to a few times. Love Vegas. All right, there it is. Save to map. Save. All right, good to go. All right, so now what we really want to do with this, the reason we've been plotting all these different points, sorry, I'm zooming in the wrong way. I need to zoom out inside of Google Maps. All right, is we want to match our map with the kind of, by taking a screenshot of it and then actually dropping it inside of Illustrator and using that as a way to plot points accurately. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to inside of Apple. I'm going to go to the Grab application. I'm going to go to Capture Selection. and I'm going to go like this. Okay. Great. Okay, so I now have an image that I can work with. You can make this bigger, obviously. For the sake of the video, I'm going with the screen size that you can see. So I've now copied that. I went to Edit, Copy, or you can do Command C in Mac. And don't need to save that anywhere because we're literally just going to paste it in. Okay. All right, now we have an issue here. All right, we have a different projection of map than we're using in this space. Okay, as you can see that there is a square cylindrical projection. Okay, while here we're seeing what looks maybe like a Mercator projection. I might be wrong, but you guys can figure that out. All right, so what I can actually do with this is I can go find the other map, or I can bend this, all right, and I can actually use the warp tool inside of Illustrator to bend this so that it actually works. All right, now I'm going to scale this up, and I'm going to go to the transparency palette, because inside the transparency palette I'm going to make this semi-transparent, so that way I can use it to plot different maps. Oop, let me make sure I have it selected first. Interesting. Okay, we're not getting transparency for some reason. Oh, all right. I just didn't have it selected. There we go. All right. So we've got it semi-transparent, and then we're going to match it up so that way things are connected. Now, to warp something, I'm going to go to where it says, let's see, Effect, Warp. All right, and then I can use Arc. All right, Arc's the most basic one. And I'm only going to use a few degrees to make it happen. Okay, where I can bend this down. And look at that. Okay, I'm actually matching the same projection that I want to have inside my project. Groovy. Okay. All right, so this is a cheat, guys. This is a way that you can absolutely get a accurately plotted map. All right, and I'm using my arrow keys here to make sure that things are good, and I need to scale for sure. Okay. Now, you may not get pinpoint accuracy. Okay, now I know you guys are probably thinking, hey, but Mike, we got to get pinpoint accuracy. Yeah, it's true. It's true. But you want to get close, okay, because this is a fun map. But if you're going for super, super accurate, then you want to make sure that you have the exact projection, okay, that you have the exact everything, all right, so that you can do what you need to do here. All right, so we're getting pretty good, pretty close. All right, let's see. Okay, so I just need to sort of stretch this out a little bit. All right, we're getting there. Okay, I'm feeling pretty good about this. All right, so what I can do now is I can lock this in place, and now I can grab my star, okay, and I can make sure that I'm plotting stuff in the right location. Okay, so yeah, I'm actually quite a bit off, so let's just make sure that we're accurate. All right. All right, we're getting much better here. Yeah, that's looking real good. Okay, lock again, Command 2. All right, and we are going to now move the stars into place. Charlotte. All right, and I'm now holding the Option key as I click on the object, the star object, like this, and I get that double arrow, and then moving this over, dropping it right there, dropping that right there, and then dropping that right there. Okay, again, try to get the same projection and same scale setup so that way you can really get the most accurate map possible. Okay, nothing worse than bad geography. Okay, so obviously with all of the different spots you've been to, I've just chosen 5 for my example. You would want to use that over and over and over again. So we're going to now unlock our map that we used, and we can cut it, or I like to save stuff, so I'm going to bring it off to the side here. Okay, and there it is. We now have our map where we've identified locations. Now I can come in with the type tool, and just off to the side, I'll say Las Vegas, comma, NV for Nevada. and we'll go myriad, bold, just as an example. Not always my first go-to font. Okay. Again, I like to keep consistency, so I just duplicated that text, and of course I'm going to say Dallas, comma, TX. And we'll finish off these guys. Chicago, IL. All right, and also I'm trying to make sure that I have consistency with the star lining up with the type itself. Charlotte, NC. And then last but not least, New York, New York. Groovy. Okay, so there it is. I've plotted a map, right? And that's essentially how you do it. Again, just a quick review on workflow. I made a plotted icons layer that has everything above it, and the great thing in Illustrator is if you click this, it selects everything in that layer. Now it's also over here grabbing the reference map that I use from Google Maps. Okay. Now here's another thing here is that if you're using maps that are historic, obviously Google Maps has the maps today. Okay. Now there are projects out there that use historic Google Maps, and maybe Google will one day catch up with that, but there is a great resource that's available, and you have to check the copyright and usage of these, of course, please, and contact the author before usage. But this is the David Rumsey Map Collection, which is phenomenal. It has map collections from all sorts of eras. So if you go to the View Collection, okay, you can open up the Luna browser, and you can look at the different types of things that are inside of here. And there are maps that are amazing. I mean, there's maps from census maps, the way counties were found. Look at that. David Burr, 1803, 1875. Okay. Now again, double check usage, but these are great for reference. Okay. And you can get a hold where you need to create an account and agree to the terms, but you can get a high-res version of these. Okay, and you can print them out and use them for the project. But again, follow the restrictions and the usage terms set up by the David Rumsey Map Collection. But this is a great website, okay, and the URL for it is, of course, davidrumsey.com. All right, and you can come here to get historic map information, okay? And I encourage you to do your research. Don't jump on the first map you see. Compare maps, because there was different cartographers at the time. There was no standard of projection, and sometimes maps were not made professionally. They were made by amateur armchair cartographers. Okay, so double check your research. All right. Now, I wanted to talk about a few other things, because we're talking about just plotting points and also regions, but also I wanted to show this great project. This is something that good.com put out, or good.is I should say, put out. All right, Good is that great magazine and prolific infographic resource. One of my favorite websites and magazines as well. I do get the paper magazine, which is fantastic. This is called Wanderlust, and this actually takes the historic take on great journeys that have gone around the world. And this is just a phenomenal thing. It's interactive. As you can see, we got the little shiny thing. Click travel route to start exploring. So you could click on, well, I guess not the route itself, but one of these. And as you roll over the different routes, you can see, look, Lewis and Clark, right, going across the United States there to the Great Northwest. Right, the electric Kool-Aid acid test trip around the world in 80 days, right? The Lindbergh travel, search for the Yangtze River, Dr. De Soto, sorry, not Dr. Soto, Hernando de Soto, right? Traveling from Spain, Amelia Earhart, right? All of the great journeys that you can think of, right? Captain Cook, Jack Kerouac's On the Road, the Pan Am Highway, Trans-Siberian Railroad, okay? And then when you click on it, you can actually go in and explore and sort of see these things in great detail. And then as you click, you can sort of go along. So this is showing plottings as well with these breakout boxes, which is a lot of fun. Okay, so this is a really groovy map. Look at Henry Hudson. Okay, so if you're into pathways, right? So 3 things to look at today: plotting points, plotting paths, which are a series of points with lines, and then also plotting regions, right, in borders. Okay, so really cool project that I encourage you to check out, right? And you can just Google "good" and "wanderlust" and it will come up, right? It's this sort of really fun interactive map here that you can see, all right? And also, if you notice, the lines have different line styles applied to them, right? So the old Silk Road has a dash, right? Henry Hudson sort of has this arrowed line. Union Pacific Transcontinental Railroad has tracks. Okay, so these are the, and I imagine, where is it? Amelia Earhart. She has a little plane sort of along the way. All right, a little dash line because of the point where I guess she may have been lost. Okay, so that's a really cool project for you to check out. All right, another thing is I did a search on Smashing Magazine and I came across this article from '09 that had free icon sets. Okay, now a lot of folks out there are probably interested like me in creating my own icons. And also stay tuned for we're going to do a video on creating pictograms and ways to get a hold of free pictograms. But this is a icon set, Google Maps icons, that has the Google Maps icon set. Okay, and you can see here this is a Maps icon collection on code.google.com, and there are different ways for you to get. Looks like Nicholas Millette is the creator of this, so thanks Nicholas for making these icons available. Okay, and it looks like you can then download these and use them inside of your project. Okay, it looks like people are maybe creating them, or Nicholas himself is creating them. Okay, so it's a pretty cool thing to have these at your disposal. You can download the vector sets, open them in Illustrator, and then plot them again. But one last little tidbit here before we go is inside of Illustrator, if you open up your type tool and drop a cursor and let it blink, if you go to where it says character, okay, and if you scroll down, you have this wonderful WebDings set and also Wingdings at your disposal. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and open up WebDings. All right, and then we're going to do something so we can see them all. This is really great for dingbats when you're working with dingbats. Okay, so there they are. Now, back in the day before this palette I'm about to show you, under the type tool, type Glyphs. Okay, here is the Glyphs palette. Look at that. Before this thing existed, I used to have to type out all of the different dingbats that would show up, and I would make these giant sets of dingbats in order for me to get at them later. And it was a really pain in the butt, but we just did it because you had to. But this is a great place to start because these are free, open source, public domain dingbats that you can use, and 99.9% of you have WebDings installed on your machine. Okay, so again, I went to character and then chose WebDings from the list, and then I went to type Glyphs, okay, and you want to show the Glyphs palette, all right, and with a cursor blinking there, watch what happens. When I double click on one of these, like let's find something that's really cool and map centric, like here's a little interstate icon. If I double click, there it is. It's now dropped a interstate icon, which is fantastic. All right, maybe I can use this I for information. Okay, let's see what else is here. Oh, here we go. Perfect. A little pin drop, which if you wanted to be more stylized. Okay, so let me zoom in on these. Now, the Glyphs palette has some cool features. You can pull up other dingbats if you've got them, or you can use this little scale tool and you can see some dingbats up close. So there's the pin that I just used there, airplane, whatever. Okay. All right, so let me close that, and now I have these icons that I can use. Okay, a lot of fun. So if you wanted to plot the interstate system, which I know is a wonderful task to take on, you can go for it. But if you wanted to just not use stars, because as we sort of mentioned, the commonplace of stars represents either nations, capitals, or capitals in general, you can use one of these. And if you notice, they're type active, and you can see the baseline exists. So if I wanted to get at these as symbols to use, I would go to where it says type and then create outlines. Okay, sorry that's off screen, but you would go type, create outlines. And then what that does is it converts these shapes, which are typable symbols, into their own unique things. But because they're on one line, they are in a group. So we have to ungroup them. So we go Object, Ungroup, and now I have access to these symbols individually. Okay. Cool. So if I wanted to swap out the icon here, okay, put the dot or the point of the pin right where the center of the star is, that would be a good way to keep things accurate. Okay, go ahead and just do that. Get rid of my star and then keep my nice red going there with the dot. Now one bad thing is pictograms generally don't have, if there's like a highlight, they remove a space, so there is a hole in this icon. So what you may want to do is use your pen tool and just quickly draw a shape, which we're going to then send to back. Okay, there we go. Alright, it actually was already sent to back, and the reason is it's on the lower layer. We're going to move this up. If you notice, when I have a shape that's in a layer, a little box appears, and if I click and drag inside the layers palette like this, I can move it, and there it is. Now it's sitting on top of the push pin. But I'm going to take the push pin and go Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. Okay, and I'm going to then select the background, hold my Shift key, and then click the pin to make a group selection, and I will then Command G group them. Okay. Reason being, I want to make sure, I have to change the orientation of my type, that I have this one icon that I can now bring over and then replot. I wish there was like a graphical find and replace in Illustrator. That would be pretty cool. Maybe Adobe, if you're out there listening, that would be a cool feature. And if you know about it, maybe in the comments section you can share a tutorial. I'd love to know. Okay, it's a nice custom way to bring back the icon. Okay, I didn't listen to myself there, and I absolutely just got rid of that one and replaced it. Whoa! And replaced it with an incorrect plotting. Okay, luckily it's the place I live now, so I am conscious of where it is. Groovy. Okay, so now we have plotted our new icons there, our push pins. Okay, one last thing, just to make sure, is give yourself a legend so people understand what stuff is. I think in this case, whoa, we're typing in pictograms right now. I'm going to use the eyedropper to select. Yep, you can grab font size and any basic manipulation of type, and you can apply it to type that way. Sorry, it's a little thing I just love to do. And then our legend should always be in a box that's somewhere on the screen so that you can identify where it goes, right, and what things mean. And then we'll duplicate, Option, click, and bring this down. Okay, and then inside our legend, we will call this something. I'm obviously not going to use bold type for that. Let's use regular. Okay, and we'll say places I've been. All right, and then we'll make this a little bit smaller, just for the sake of the legend. Cool. Okay, so this is just a basic map, right? You can add a title and now get into some style. But we took care of the hardcore data stuff first. Obviously, it's just 5 points. If you want to get in here and really do some damage, you can plot. If you've been to 100 places in the United States, you can plot 100 points. But this is a really wonderful getting started with plotting maps. Okay, you know, you can also, I can show you here real quick if I wanted to show you the way I drove from New York to Charlotte. I can get out either my pencil tool or my brush tool or my pen tool, and I can literally sort of show you that I drove this way, okay, down and then into the place. Because it is a vector path, I can come in and then mess with these. If you want to go back to Google Maps, we can punch in the driving directions and then hopefully recall. It's been almost, well, more than half a decade now since I've been here, so I can plot that stuff in and then show you how I actually went. Okay, it's fun to do this with historic maps to sort of plot where great explorers have gone and those sorts of things. Look at me, Chicago in Indiana. Wow, a lot of people will be very unhappy with me right now. So sorry. Okay, so just double check your accuracy. Again, I did not use the same projection type of map that I brought in from Google Maps, so I cheated a little bit. You can get away with it if your map is small enough, right? If the things are ambiguous enough, if obviously the icon is sort of 3 times the size of the city, you can get away with it, but don't always cheat, okay? Look for the best accurate way, and really the best accurate way is to use an SVG map that has the same projection of the Google map that you're going to be using, or the historic map that we found on David Rumsey's historic location. Okay, so this concludes the tutorial, and then just want to give you a quick preview. Soon we're going to talk about maps like this. This is called a folk map. Okay, and we've seen this when we've been to Disney World, where we see like these sort of ridiculously large drawings of places that there's no geographic sort of accuracy. It's just a fun map, and you can see here this has a lot of illustration added to it. So we're going to talk about making a folk map, and I would encourage you to design a folk map for your hometown or your home city or a place that you live or a college campus, anything, okay, your neighborhood. And that's what we're going to talk about next time, and really get into talking about illustration on maps. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and happy mapping.